everyone, today I'm finally here to do another author specific video. So I've done a few of these in the past. I've done one on Sophie Kinsella, Sarah Dessen, and Casey West. Today I'm talking about Fredrik Backman. So in this video I'm going to tell you about every single one of his books and what they are about, and at the end I'm going to rate my favorite to my least favorite of his books. Fredrik Backman has written 5 full-length novels and 2 novellas, so total of 7, and I'll be talking about all 7 of those books today. If you're unfamiliar with Fredrik Backman, he is actually a Swedish author. All of his books that I'm talking about today have been translated. Now I'm going to tell you guys what all of his books are in order of publication year. The first book he ever released was A Man Called Eva, which is actually the first one I ever read. This is about a man called Uwe. I think it's Uwe. Sorry if I pronounce things wrong. And he is the grumpiest man you'll ever meet. His wife has just recently deceased, and Uwe really wants to actually kill himself. So he kind of sets the path to do that, and he tries to do it several times, but each time he is kind of thwarted by something. Very particular about things. He has to do things a certain way. His mornings have to go the same way, and then basically a new neighbor moves in across the street from him, and he gets really close to them, and his life really changes, and he becomes a little bit happier, and he learns more about himself and about, you know, maybe he doesn't want to commit suicide after all. And it's just a really whimsical but kind of dark book. I'd say Fredrik Backman is known for that. He writes books that are kind of deeper but with a lighter twist on them with his humor and things like that. I really enjoyed this one. It's one of my favorites by him. I'd say if you're just looking for just that kind of a darker book with a little bit of a funny twist, this would be a great one for that. This has also been adapted to a Swedish film, which I have watched with subtitles. I've never done that before, and I really enjoyed it. It's also being adapted to a movie in the US, which I believe is going to star Tom Hanks. I don't know when that's coming out, if it's coming out. I just know that there has been talks about it, so I can't wait to see that happen. I'm also really excited that it was adapted to a Swedish film. I really enjoyed this one. I'd say when you hear Fredrik Backman, you think of this book mostly in particular. And the next book we have is My Grandmother Asked You to Tell Me She's Sorry. And this one I actually read last. It's a second published one, but I read it last. This is about a 7-year-old girl named Elsa whose grandmother has recently passed away. And Elsa's grandmother entrusts Elsa with delivering all of these letters to people telling them that she is sorry. This one is very interesting in the fact that it's told from a 7-year-old's perspective, and she's very mature, she's very outspoken, and she also, her grandmother had like made up this imaginary world, and they made up imaginary characters and things like that. And as the novel progresses, you learn that these imaginary characters are actually real people living in Elsa's building. It's like an apartment building, I'm guessing, and all of these tenants are really close together, but they really like fight and things like that. But each time she delivers a letter, you learn more about the tenant and how it really correlates to Elsa's and her grandmother's kind of made up world and things like that. So that part I think is the more confusing part for me that I didn't really love, but I loved Elsa, and I loved learning more about the small knit group of people that live together, and they're not close in the fact of friendship, they're close in proximity. Right after that we have Britt Marie Was Here. This is actually kind of a sequel, I would say, or a companion novel to My Grandmother Asked You to Tell Me She's Sorry. So one of the letters that Elsa had to deliver was to a character named Britt Marie, and Britt Marie has her own book. Obviously Britt Marie takes off on a journey after the events of what happened in My Grandmother Asked You to Tell Me She's Sorry, and she starts over afresh. And Britt Marie is very particular. She has to clean, she has to have things her way, she's very prim and proper, and she moves into this town that is not that at all, and she gets really involved with the kids that live there, soccer team or hockey team, I forget, that they really want to get involved in, and she starts to grow and thrive and become a different person. I did really enjoy Britt Marie. I did read these out of order. I read Britt Marie was first, then I read My Grandmother Asked You to Tell Me She's Sorry. I would recommend reading this one first just so you know more backstory about Britt Marie. I think it would make you learn and appreciate Britt Marie more and understand her if you read her backstory. To read his books, I would recommend starting with this one and then this one. I have a novella that I listened to recently, and that is called And Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer. This is a very short novella. It's only 76 pages. Audiobook time, it's like 45 minutes, so not very lengthy at all. And this is basically about a grandfather who is getting dementia, and he's kind of losing his mind. And it starts with him with his grandson Noah, and basically he is telling Noah all about his past and things like that, and he is knowing that his mind is failing him, and he's just kind of struggling with that. And it's so beautiful. It astounded me how much this book made me cry in the 76 pages that it was. I highly recommend it. It's literally like not even an hour of your time to read this book, so I'd highly recommend it. It's very sad, but a very beautiful read. Beartown. This basically is about the town of Beartown, and they are a very ice hockey team. They live it, they breathe it. We follow the high school team in this book, and we have a whole slew of characters. There's a lot of characters in this town and in this ice hockey team, and we follow a lot of them. And what happens in this book is there is a rape that happens, and that I might be spoiling it for you, but I just want to throw that out there for trigger warnings wise, because that is a very big trigger warning, so I wanted to share that with you guys. So sorry if I spoiled it, but I feel like that should be spoiled because it's such a big trigger warning. Basically, a rape happens and the town gets divided on who to believe, and that's where it goes from there. And it's really delves into a lot of deep and dark things. I'd say this is probably his darkest one, but again, it's got a lot of humor in it because a lot of these characters will just lift your heart up and you will fall for them and you really feel for them. And there's also a lot of horrible characters and a lot of things that you don't agree with. This is, at the root of it, is a book about the town of Beartown and the people that live in Beartown, and I loved every second of it. I have another novella, and then it's called The Deal of a Lifetime. This one again is around 70 to 90 pages, and this one's more Christmas themed, as you can tell, but I wouldn't say you have to read this during Christmas. I didn't read it during Christmas. I read it last month, and it didn't really seem Christmassy, just the cover. And this is about a man that makes a deal and how it affects his life. This one I didn't really love. I felt kind of about, so I didn't love this one. It is one of my least favorite ones by him as well. And then his most recent release, it actually got released this year, and that is Us Against You. And this is the sequel to Beartown. And this one goes on to the events a little bit after of the events that happened in Beartown. And basically this is about the hockey team and how they're kind of decimated and they don't have a lot of money and things like that. So where do they go from there? And we follow a whole bunch of new characters as well as some of our favorite old characters. And I just love this series. Like, you will fall in love with so many characters and you'll just fall in love with Beartown in general. I believe there's going to be a third book. I'm not 100% sure on it, but I think there is, and I'm happy we're continuing on with this series. I also want to mention that there is another book, or it's a novella, I'm not quite sure, called Things My Son Needs to Know About the World, which he published in 2012, which hasn't been translated yet. So I just want to throw that out there that, you know, he does have 7 books in total out here, but that's only in the US. So there's that one in Sweden that hasn't been translated yet, but I thought I would throw that out there for you guys just so you know. I haven't read it yet. Also, Beartown has been bought by a Swedish production team, which I think they're going to adapt this into a TV show, which if they do it right, I think could be amazing. So I just want to throw that out there for you to know all things about Fredrik Backman. So now I'm going to tell you guys what my favorite Fredrik Backman's books are, working up to my least favorite. So first of all, my favorite is hands down the Beartown series. I liked Fredrik Backman before reading the series, and then after this I fell in love with his books. Like, I was not expecting to love these books as much as I did. Yes, they're dark, they deal with heavy topics, but there are so many characters in this book you're gonna love. Bobo, Benji, Amat. There's so many amazing characters, and it's so dynamic because one book you'll love a character, but in the second book you don't feel the same way about them. I recommend, if you're really interested in getting into Fredrik Backman books, this is the perfect place to start. I love this series. And after that, my favorite is A Man Called Eva. I just really enjoyed this one. It was my first Fredrik Backman book and I fell in love with it. I loved his writing style and how it was, and this will still be one of my favorites by him always. After that, I really enjoyed And Every Morning the Way Home Gets Longer and Longer. Yes, it is short, so short, but it packs such a punch. It was so memorable. I'll never forget that story. I'll never forget how much it made me cry, so I had to put it up there high because I really loved it. And I have to go with Britt Was Here. I really enjoyed this one a little bit more than My Grandmother Asked You to Tell Me She's Sorry. This one was just more whimsical, and I really loved reading about the transformation of Britt Marie and learning more about her. And then after that, I'm gonna have to go with My Grandmother Asked You to Tell Me She's Sorry. Like I said, it's one of my least favorite ones because it was just so confusing overall, but still a really adorable read that'll hit you all in the feelings. My least favorite one is his other novella, The Deal of a Lifetime. I just didn't really like it. I wasn't wowed by it. I just kind of didn't have really any feelings after I read it. So there you have it. Those are all of Fredrik Backman's books. Either way, he is definitely one of my favorite authors. I will read anything he puts out because I enjoy his writing style, how he makes all of his books with a dark kind of plot, but with a lot of lighter twist on it. Humor and characters that you just fall in love with. I just really love love his writing style overall. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope that if you were interested in Fredrik Backman's books, that this kind of helped you get a little bit of insight into them, into where you want to start if you want to read his books. I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions on any of these books and just these videos overall. If you really do enjoy these author specific videos, I'd love to hear your thoughts, because I like doing them and I plan to continue on with them. The next one should be Liane Moriarty in November, so I'm getting excited for that because another author I really enjoy. So I love to hear your thoughts and opinions on Fredrik Backman, these videos, things like that. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, hit subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye.